Welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're doing what we do best, taking a complex, unfolding story and breaking it down so we can really see what's going on behind the headlines. We've got a fascinating look at the evolving role of modern royalty today. Because what actually happens when two of the most recognized figures on the entire planet take the global stage literally just a single day apart, but step onto completely different battlegrounds? Well, we're looking at a pretty striking contrast in how modern royals are leveraging their massive platforms to tackle some really huge societal issues. Here is the dynamic we're exploring today. On one hand, you have Prince Harry in Washington, D.C., taking on the really heavy, complex, digital age issues of AI governance and privacy algorithms. And then on the other hand, you have Princess Kate in Reggio Emilia, Italy, focusing on the incredibly foundational, human-centric world of early childhood education. I mean, at first glance, you really couldn't pick two more wildly different approaches or topics, right? But as we're going to see today, these completely diverging paths are actually tied together by a shared, fierce focus. And that focus is on protecting and nurturing the next generation. Section 1. Harry's Fight for Privacy. Okay, let's start by looking at Tuesday's events. Prince Harry appeared as the keynote speaker at the APP Global Summit in Washington, D.C. Now, this is an event firmly focused on serious, modern infrastructure issues, things like cybersecurity and AI governance. But Harry framed his entire argument in a deeply personal way right out of the gate. He didn't just stand up there and speak like an abstract policy advocate. He told the audience, "Now, my connection to privacy, and the lack of it, begins in a different place than most, from birth." He's tackling his lifelong issue with media intrusion head-on here, using his own very unique lived experience to legitimize the warnings he's giving about the future of global privacy. And from that really personal starting point, he pivoted straight into the specific technological dangers he sees right now. He didn't hold back. He raised major alarms about how platform algorithms are actively tracking children's behavior. And he brought up a very heavy, incredibly sobering point about digital safety. The profound difficulty that parents of late children face when they're simply trying to get access to their deceased child's phone. It's heartbreaking stuff. So his ultimate point was a call to action. He's calling on us, the humans who actually architected all this technology, to step up and design a much better tech future. A world where the right to privacy is just the standard baseline norm, absolutely not just some lofty ideal we strive for. Section 2. The cost of litigation. Now, to really understand why he is pushing so incredibly hard for this, we have to look at the immense legal war he's been waging against major UK media organizations for the past 7 years. It's a massive undertaking. He traces what he calls systematic and unlawful invasions of privacy and the alleged cover-ups of those invasions all the way back to the early 2000s. Fast forward a bit, and in 2023, he secures a major win against Mirror Group newspapers. And then just recently, in 2025, he settled a claim against News Group newspapers. So you can see this isn't a one-off complaint. It's a relentless, long-running battle against these information-gathering practices.
Actually, I want to pause on this number right here for a second. £140,600. This was the amount in damages awarded to Harry in that 2023 Mirror Group case. And I'm bringing this up to emphasize a really stark reality. These are not just abstract complaints about feeling watched or annoyed by the press. These are legally proven, unlawful information-gathering activities that directly resulted in financial penalties. It makes the abstract very, very real.
And the ripple effects of taking on these media giants, they are still unfolding today. In his 2025 settlement regarding The Sun, it actually featured a full and unequivocal apology for both serious intrusion as well as unlawful activities. So week by week, year by year, we are seeing the ongoing tangible outcomes of the 7-year legal strategy he's built. But look, fighting powerful institutions, it always has a price. There's no way around it. Harry actually acknowledged this directly at the summit. He said, in many ways, it's come at a personal and reputational cost for me, my wife, and our kids. But the takeaway here is that he accepts this cost. He feels he really has nothing personal left to gain, other than making absolutely sure that digital safety and privacy become fundamental rights for the next generation. It is a highly defensive, deeply combative stance, and it's taken specifically to force structural change.
Section 3. Kate's Italian Diplomacy.
Okay, leaving the tense courtrooms and policy summits of DC, let's travel over to the sun-drenched town squares of Italy. Princess Kate arrived in Reggio Emilia for her very first working overseas trip since her cancer recovery, and man, the energy here is just entirely different. It's warm, it's upbeat, and it is deeply focused on community. The future queen basically made a beeline straight for a group of local preschoolers. She knelt down and told a 5-year-old girl named Alice, "I speak a bit of Italian. What is your name? I am Caterina." Fun fact, she actually picked up the language during a gap year in Florence way back in 2000, and local teachers were pointing out that her Italian was perfectly and clearly spoken. It's just an incredibly immediate, personal way to build a bridge.
And you know, her warm reception was instantaneous. She was greeted by Mayor Marco Massari right in the town square amidst all these loud cheers. She's engaging directly with the children from the Robinson preschool in their own language. She also spent a really significant chunk of time, about half an hour, just sitting with the local founding nanas, which is a fantastic story we'll get into in a second. And to top it off, she was presented with the city's absolute highest honor.
Section 4. Championing Early Years Education. So all of these vibrant public events, they serve the core purpose of her visit. Kate was not just there to smile for a photo op. She was really there to immerse herself in the world-renowned Reggio Emilia educational method. Inside the main chamber of the town hall, the mayor led a short ceremony where he specifically outlined her extensive credentials in the early years sector. And then he presented her with the Primo Tricolore, the highest honor the city can give. When the translation came through, Kate placed her hand on her heart and said, "Wow, what an honor. I'm very grateful. It's very gratefully accepted." It was this really wonderful moment of profound mutual respect between a major global figure and a tight-knit local community. But honestly, perhaps the most fascinating part of her entire visit was that half-hour sit-down she had with three specific women, the Nanas. Carla, Iona, and Aletta. These women were all born right around the start of World War II, and they are considered absolutely instrumental in creating and spreading this famous Reggio Emilia method throughout their community. Kate literally just sat down with them, relying on a translator to listen to their living history.
And her collaborative approach was just fully on display here. She told the Nanas, "I love that you put children and childhood at the heart of the community, and I'm really fascinated to learn more about it." That quote right there highlights her community-centric stance perfectly. She isn't flying in to mandate policy or tell people what to do. She is there to observe, to learn from the experts, and to take local successes and highlight them on a massive global stage to nurture educational growth everywhere.
Section 5. Different Paths, Shared Goal. So, stepping back, we have just walked through two very different days in the lives of two very different royal figures. But despite the drastically different locations, the completely different tones and methods, these two narratives are driven by the exact same invisible thread. Think about it. On one hand, you have Harry taking this highly defensive, combative stance against powerful media institutions and tech algorithms to ensure the digital safety of kids. And then on the other, you have Kate taking this warm, collaborative, soft diplomacy stance alongside local communities to ensure the developmental and educational growth of kids. They are entirely diverging paths. One is fighting it out in courtrooms and policy summits, while the other is learning in town squares and preschools. But the shared goal? It's a fierce, undeniable dedication to protecting and nurturing the next generation.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Whether they are fighting algorithms in a high-stakes courtroom or elevating educational methods in a local community square, how will modern public figures continue to shape the future for the next generation? It's pretty clear the old royal playbook is changing, and the platforms these figures possess are being wielded in vastly different, yet equally targeted ways. We definitely need to keep an eye on how these strategies evolve, because the outcomes are absolutely going to impact the digital and educational landscapes that we all have to navigate. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.